Rosemary's Baby is a 1968 film that stars Mia Farrow as a young woman named Rosemary who moves into an apartment in NYC with her husband Guy. As bizarre things start occurring around her, the audience can watch as Rosemary becomes more untrustworthy towards the people in her life and starts to believe they're out to hurt her and her unborn child. This is one of my all-time favorite films, and I'll be analyzing how this film utilizes media aesthetics like narrative and cinematography to create an effective, suspenseful atmosphere. Initially, when we're introduced to Rosemary, she is this vibrant, happy, excitable girl who is madly in love with her husband. This film utilizes narrative to create suspense by slowly deconstructing Rosemary's initial character throughout the film, illustrating her slow decline into madness, fear, and distrust. A scene I've identified as Rosemary's first moment of character deconstruction comes from the chocolate mousse scene. Before this dessert arrived, she had already been mistrusting of her neighbors and her husband's odd obsession with them. The mousse given to her was a gift from her neighbors, but when she states that she can taste a chalky undertone,
has an undertaste. A chalky undertaste.
I don't get it.
her displeasure with the dessert is met with criticism from Guy.
Come on, the old bat slaved all day. Now eat it.
I don't like it.
It's delicious.
As we can see, she pours the mousse into her lap and hides it from Guy, who is pictured in the scene as a looming presence over her, no longer a loving partner. This isolation and distrust of people around her is a constant theme throughout the film as she slowly loses close friends and those she trusts start acting differently, such as Guy, who becomes more aggressive.
Is that their hint for today?
They're my friends. Don't
They're a
call them
bunch of
bitches.
not very bright bitches who ought to mind their own goddamn business.
All they said was get a second opinion.
This is how Rosemary's Baby creates suspense through story development. However, this wouldn't be as effective if the audience wasn't constantly glued to Rosemary's side. Another way this film generates suspense is through cinematography by keeping us glued to Rosemary and her experiences. She is rarely off screen, and if she is, the audience can assume that she is still in the room or right behind the camera. This doesn't just secure us in Rosemary's story, but isolates us with her as she tries to navigate the challenges and odd happenings around her. The audience doesn't get scenes to justify the bizarre actions of others, but we do get insight into Rosemary's thought process and the evidence to justify her conspiracies. By isolating the audience with Rosemary, the film generates suspense because we can feel her desperation as she puts the pieces together and fights for the safety of her and her child. Jumping much farther into the movie, a scene that encapsulates these recurring themes of isolation and desperation is when she begs her old doctor for sanctuary. The trusted doctor gives her a place to rest, but is awoken by her deceitful neighbor and husband.
I was sleeping.
Come with us quietly, Rosemary. Don't argue or make a scene. Because if you say anything more about witches or witchcraft, we're going to be forced to take you to a mental hospital.
It's here that Rosemary and the audience learn there is simply no one she can trust. The film reignites suspense as she's escorted back to her apartment, now having absolutely nowhere to run. A final way this film generates suspense is through its utilization of diegetic sound and lack of non-diegetic sound. With every sound on the screen having a source, such as a ticking clock, the city life outside, and footsteps, the film cements itself in reality, not relying on added sound or a musical score to generate suspense. By only adding non-diegetic sound at moments of climax, this film juxtaposes the usual silence found in the film, adding emphasis to the scenes that utilize a musical score, such as the final scene in the movie where the horrible truth is revealed. In character deconstruction through narrative, isolation with Rosemary through cinematography, and sound that cements this story in reality, this film generates an effective, suspenseful atmosphere that grows throughout the film. Reaching its climax at the end of the film where Rosemary discovers
Satan is his father, not Guy.
He came up from hell and begat a son of mortal woman. Hail, Satan!
Hail, Satan!
Satan is his father, and his name is Adrian. He shall overthrow the mighty and lay waste their temples. He shall redeem the despised and wreak vengeance in the name of the burned and the tortured. Hail, Adrian! Hail!